Welcome to the Mind Spark. Bringing you the latest news from around the world tonight, the world witnesses a seismic shift in global politics. An event that, until now, seemed almost impossible. The air is thick with anticipation as newsrooms across the globe scramble to cover a story that will be remembered for generations. In a move that defies decades of tension, China has formally accepted a groundbreaking peace proposal from Taiwan. The handshake between leaders marks not just a diplomatic gesture but a turning point in history. For years, this region was a powder keg where a single misstep could ignite global conflict. The world has watched, holding its breath as military forces stood on edge and families lived in constant uncertainty. Now, we see the first real steps toward lasting peace. The atmosphere is charged with hope, as people dare to imagine a future free from the shadow of war. The implications are enormous, touching every corner of the globe. From economic markets to diplomatic alliances, the ripple effects of this agreement will be felt far and wide. In Taipei, crowds gather in quiet awe, processing what this means for their future. Tears of relief and cautious smiles spread as families and friends embrace, uncertain but hopeful. In Beijing, the official announcement was delivered with stoic formality, but the message was revolutionary. A new chapter, shared prosperity, and setting aside historical grievances. The world listens as leaders speak of reconciliation and mutual respect. This is more than a political agreement, it's a profound psychological shift for millions. Generations raised on stories of division now face the possibility of unity and peace. At the United Nations, diplomats scramble, faces a mix of shock and hope. Urgent discussions begin as the international community tries to grasp the full impact of this historic breakthrough. On Wall Street, markets surge with optimism about stability in a critical region. Investors and analysts alike see new opportunities emerging from the promise of peace. For so long, the question was not if conflict would happen, but when. Tonight, those scenarios are shelved, and military strategists begin to rethink the future. Instead, we discuss the architecture of peace, a topic that seemed like a distant dream. Experts and negotiators now focus on building a framework that can endure. The world is now asking, what's in this proposal? What concessions were made? And what promises were exchanged to make this possible? Why did China agree now? Analysts debate the motivations, from economic pressures to shifting global alliances, searching for answers behind this dramatic change. What does this mean for the United States? American officials weigh the consequences, considering both the risks and the opportunities that lie ahead. The balance of power in Asia has just been fundamentally altered. Regional leaders gather to discuss the new reality, aware that history is being rewritten before their eyes. For the first time in a long time, the path points toward peace, not war. As dawn breaks, hope rises with the sun, and the world dares to believe in a brighter tomorrow. The announcement came just after dawn in Beijing, as the city slowly awakened under a golden sky. The world's attention was about to shift. China's foreign ministry confirmed acceptance of Taiwan's peace framework, a monumental departure from decades of policy, signaling a willingness to chart a new course in cross-strait relations. The message was clear: a historic opportunity for peace and mutual respect, a chance to move beyond old hostilities and envision a shared future. In Taiwan, the president addressed the nation, her words broadcast into millions of homes. She emphasized courage, unity, and the responsibility to secure a peaceful future for generations to come. She made clear, this is not a surrender but a bold assertion of sovereignty and self-determination, a statement that Taiwan's voice will not be silenced. The proposal was the result of months of secret diplomacy, with negotiators from both sides seeking common ground away from the glare of cameras and public posturing, building trust step by step. The Taiwanese public reacts with a mix of relief, hope, and skepticism, reflecting deep-seated mistrust, but also a longing for stability and normalcy. For decades, the One China policy left little room for negotiation or compromise. This agreement, for the first time, shelves that fundamental disagreement, opening a new chapter. It creates space for cooperation, focusing on practical benefits, trade, travel, and cultural exchange, while deferring the hardest questions for another day. International reaction is stunned silence, quickly followed by a flurry of activity as governments and analysts rush to understand the implications. The United States issues a cautious but welcoming statement, reiterating its commitment to peace and stability in the region and urging all parties to proceed with care. Privately, officials scramble for details, debating whether this is a genuine breakthrough or a calculated strategic maneuver, weighing risks and opportunities. The world is watching, holding its breath, hoping this handshake marks the true beginning of a new era, one defined by dialogue, not discord. The stakes could not be higher. The future of the region, and perhaps the world, hangs in the balance. To grasp today's breakthrough, we must revisit the painful history dividing China and Taiwan. The conflict's roots lie in the Chinese Civil War, which ended in 1949 with the communists victorious on the mainland and the nationalists retreating to Taiwan. Both sides claimed to be the legitimate government of all China, locked in a suspended civil war. The world was forced to choose sides, with the US and others initially recognizing Taiwan. In the 1970s, diplomatic recognition shifted to Beijing, isolating Taiwan. Taiwan transformed into a vibrant democracy, deepening the divide with authoritarian China. Most Taiwanese now see themselves as distinct from the mainland. This divergence created the modern standoff, a democratic Taiwan, a powerful China. It's this long, painful history that makes today's agreement so significant. The past still echoes, but a new chapter may be beginning. The Taiwan Strait has long been one of the world's most dangerous flashpoints. Crises in the 1950s brought the US and China to the brink of war. China's growing military power and frequent incursions kept the region on edge. Taiwan is a critical node in the global economy, especially for advanced semiconductors. Any conflict would devastate global supply chains and trade. The US policy of strategic ambiguity was designed to deter both invasion and independence. A war here would pit nuclear powers against each other, a global catastrophe. This terrifying prospect has made the strait a focus of intense diplomacy. The stakes have always been global, not just regional. The Orchid Blossom Initiative is a masterclass in creative diplomacy. It's not a final treaty but a framework for de-escalation and cooperation. The first pillar, economic cooperation, expanded trade, joint industrial zones and shared R&D in non-sensitive fields. The goal, intertwine economic futures, making peace mutually beneficial. The second pillar, cultural and educational exchange, student programs, joint heritage projects, and co-productions in arts and sports. The idea, build empathy and a shared identity. The third pillar, security assurances, mutual de-escalation, halting military patrols across the median line, a military hotline and a freeze on new offensive missiles. These aren't disarmament but critical steps to reduce the risk of accidental war. The plan sidesteps the thorniest issues, focusing on trust building. It's a pragmatic path forward. Why did China accept this deal now? Domestically, China faces economic headwinds. Real estate crisis, high youth unemployment, slowing exports. A war would be ruinous, threatening the Communist Party's grip on power. President Xi may see a peaceful resolution as a legacy-defining achievement. Internationally, China's aggressive posture has triggered pushback and new security alliances. A peace overture changes the narrative, presenting China as a responsible power. Strategically, the war in Ukraine showed the costs of invasion and the power of Western support for smaller nations. Accepting peace neutralizes the main point of friction with the US and reshuffles Asia's geopolitical chessboard. It's a calculated, transformative move. The China-Taiwan agreement has sent ripples across the globe. In Washington, the response is measured, welcoming reduced tensions but reassessing decades-old strategy. The Taiwan Relations Act, long a cornerstone, is now in question. Japan reacts with hope and apprehension, wary of shifts in the regional balance. A closer China-Taiwan relationship could challenge Japan's influence. Southeast Asia welcomes the de-escalation, seeing it as a win for regional stability and diplomacy. European nations breathe a sigh of relief, seeing vindication for their emphasis on engagement, yet skepticism remains. Some fear this is a strategic ploy by China. The consensus, cautious optimism, but eyes wide open to the challenges ahead. The world is watching for real change, not just rhetoric. The stakes are global. As the initial shock of the agreement begins to fade, the world's attention shifts to the four foundational pillars that will shape the path forward. These pillars are not just policy points. They represent a new vision for the region's future. Economic integration is the first pillar. Deeply intertwined supply chains, joint ventures, and cross-border investments now make peace not only desirable, but profitable for both sides. The hope is that shared prosperity will create incentives to maintain stability and cooperation. Cultural exchange forms the second pillar. Joint film productions, academic collaborations, and youth programs are designed to erode suspicion, foster understanding, and build lasting bridges between communities. These efforts aim to create a new generation that sees each other as partners, not rivals. Security assurances are the third pillar. A direct military hotline and a freeze on missile deployments significantly reduce the risk of accidental war, while new protocols for crisis communication help prevent misunderstandings from escalating. Success, however, depends on transparency, rigorous verification, and possibly the involvement of trusted third-party monitors to ensure all sides uphold their commitments. The final pillar is a permanent dialogue mechanism, regular high-level talks designed to manage disputes, oversee progress, and adapt to new challenges as they arise. This institutionalizes the peace process, making it less dependent on the personalities or ambitions of individual leaders and more resilient to political changes. The agreement does not resolve the complex question of Taiwan's political status, but it establishes a durable framework for peaceful management and ongoing negotiation. It's a bold bet that cooperation, dialogue, and shared interests can outlast old grievances and reshape the narrative for future generations. The world will be watching closely as both sides attempt to turn this fragile hope into a lasting and meaningful peace, aware that the stakes are higher than ever. The future remains uncertain, but for the first time in decades, it feels open, full of possibility and promise. The next chapter is being written now, shaped by the choices and actions of millions on both sides. And for millions, that chapter begins with hope, a hope that this fragile peace can grow into something enduring and transformative.